Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be going over which blacksmith upgrades you should get depending on which unit you want to go for. I'm going to show you guys which ones to prioritize and which ones are good but stuff you get later on. And so the idea is if you have a limited amount of resources and you want to just get one or two upgrades, which ones should you get from the blacksmith? And depending on obviously which unit you're going for. Now I want to preface this by saying that I'm not going to be dealing with unique units, but I will be dealing with regional unique units. As you can see, I've got the elephant and the steppe lancer and the eagle, regional unique units. I'll be taking a look at those, but Genitor and anything that comes from the castle that's only available to one civ, I'm not going to be taking a look at it in this video. However, depending on the amount of viewership this gets, the amount of likes and whatnot, comments, you can, I might be able, you can even let me know in the comments below if you want to see this, but I'll do the same style video for all unique units next week. All right. So if this is interesting and you like it, leave a comment below and I'll do one for unique units next week. All right, so that sounds like a plan. Let's hop into this one and take a look at what we got. So first things first, I've got, I've laid out all the different units here. So this is everything you make from an archery range, everything you make from a barracks, and everything you can make from a stable, pretty much. So we have them all in front of us, and let's just take a look and see what or how we can upgrade these units to start, and then I'll show you guys which upgrades you want to get first for each type of unit. So starting things off, let's just pick the archer. We can see a few stats that are visible to us here. So first off, there's the attack, and then you have the armor. So pierce armor, it's melee armor first, and then pierce armor, and then you have the range, and then you have the HP. Now from the blacksmith, you can only affect the stats that are not the HP, pretty much. So just like the attack and the range and the armor. So from the archers, you have down here the two upgrades that affect them. Fletching, a bodkin, and a bracer, and the whole class affects their range and their attack. By the way, the cost here is wrong. I'm playing as the Spanish, so there's no gold cost associated to it, so that's my fault. And then there's the armor. So this gives +1 normal and +1 pierce armor to each archer and cavalry archer unit. Now, so we have to decide, which ones should we take? We have fletching and we have archer armor. What's more effective for the archer class? Now, archer, there's crossbowman and arbalest. I just used the base one. But for archer units, the best thing by far is to go for your fletching and your bodkin first. 100%. Range and attack is most important on foot archers, and the reason being is quite simple. This unit, the archer, is meant to be massed, so you get a pretty good amount of them and keep them at the back of your army to do a lot of damage per second from the back and take out enemy units. They're not going to be your frontline unit. They're not going to be the thing that's going to tank the cavalry charge from your opponents. It's really something you want to keep safe and in the back of your in your ranks because they have very low HP and they have very low mobility. So that being said, you definitely want a lot more attack rather than you want armor, if that makes sense. Just to put it in another example, I have 30 HP. And if I have only 30 HP, even if I have 5 armor, let's say I have 99 armor, actually. Let's give a ridiculous example. If I have 99 armor, but I have 30 HP, I die from 30 hits of anything, right? So if I have another group of 30 archers attacking me, and I have a 99 armor, but I have only 1 range, and they have 10 range, they can always kill me. They can one-shot me. In fact, they each do 1 damage, but they can attack me from so far that I can never even approach them. So hopefully with this extreme example, you can see that attack and range is much more important on the archer unit than armor is, just because you're naturally such a squishy unit anyways. So taking the example in Castlage, in a standard game where you have 30 crossbows, I'd rather have every time I shoot, I do an extra 2 damage, than every time I get hit, I take 2 less damage. It's another example. So I've given 3 examples. This is why attack and range is better on foot archers, and armor is actually not very important at all. So I would say that from an importance level of 1 to 5, archer, fletching and that thing is definitely a 5, and the archer armor would maybe be like a 2, something you get later on if you can afford it, not something you really should prioritize before getting these ones. So that's it for the archer. Let's move along. We're gonna have the skirmisher here, and now a skirmisher similar to the archer is going to be in the back of the line and kind of doing damage from the back. The thing is about the skirmisher is that it only does damage to certain units, and it does excels against enemy archer units because it has attack bonus versus them, and maybe even a small attack bonus against spearmen, pikemen, and halbs. And so the skirmisher has to kind of pick and choose who he attacks basically, and for that reason, the attack is not that important on the skirmisher, although it still is. The most important is probably the range, because you need to attack from a distance to be able to close the gap as well sometimes. So definitely the range is very important on the skirmisher. But the attack is also important because the attack bonus you get is not that insane compared to like a halberdier versus an elephant. That attack bonus is way stronger than skirmisher versus an archer, and so for that reason your attack is still quite important. The other thing to keep in mind though is that armor on skirmisher is very important, more so than the archer. Now let's think of an example here. I start with 3 pierce armor and my unit is supposed to counter archers. So if you take a look at the archer base attack, it has 4 and my skirmisher has 3 armor. So if this guy gets an extra attack, he's gonna have 4 plus 1, so that's 5, and I have just the 3. So let's say I also get the attack, so I'm also doing good damage to him, but now I have 3 pierce armor compared to this 5 attack. I'm taking 2 damage per shot. That means 15 archers can one-shot me in one volley, basically. But if I get the armor upgrade, which costs only 100 food, now it takes him 30 archers to one-shot me. I survive double the amount. Because I have already a high base pierce armor, getting it so it has only 1 damage being taken instead of 2, that's basically saying like I would take twice the damage if I don't get it. So it's a lot of value just to pick up that archer armor and make the archers do only 1 damage. And the same can be said about crossbows versus elite skirmisher and castlage. Getting the +2 armor on the skirmisher, and elite skirmisher and castlage, you have 4 + 2 armor. That's going to be very valuable compared to the crossbow 5 + 2 attack after bodkin arrow is researched. So then have 7 attack and you have 6 pierce armor, and again it's the same thing, you're only taking 1 damage per shot, and when you get to that position the skirmisher becomes very powerful. However, that being said, I would still say that for the skirmisher, fletching is most important. So on a scale of 1 to 5, once again, fletching and getting range and attack, definitely a 5. However, because the skirmisher is meant to counter archers, and because archers do high damage, getting armor to mitigate their damage and allow you to close the gap a little bit further because you have the same range as them is very important. So I would say armor is actually a 4 on skirmisher in terms of importance. So get the attack right away and then you get the armor, and in some cases I'd even recommend getting the armor first. So there is cases for that, and that's why the importance is just so close on the list. Next up, we have the Cavalry Archer, and this one is interesting. It's very similar to the Archer in the sense that it does the exact same role. It's a DPS unit from the back, and it does a lot of damage, and the more range you have, the further away from harm you will be, and the better your micro potential will be. So for that reason, it's the same story. Importance from 1 to 5, you want fletching first, 100%. So fletching, bodkin arrow, 100%. And then as far as archer armor, how important that is, I would actually say that for the Cav Archer, since you have more health, it's actually a little bit more valuable than you have it on the archer. So I would say from an importance of 1 to 5, the archer armor would probably be a 3 for cavalry archers. However, the argument could also be made that since you have more mobility, you actually don't need the armor because you can just run away from engagements. While that's also true to some extent, I do feel like as the game goes to late game, people pick up ballistics, and you're going to be taking damage with the Cav Archer. So picking up the armor gives you a bit more value on the Cav Archer than it does for the Foot Archer, because like I said, you have more HP to make use of that armor. So again, let's use my extreme example. If I have 50 HP base and I have 99 armor, so I take 1 damage from pretty much anything, I would survive 50 hits instead of the Archer surviving only 30 hits. So it's a pretty big deal, and for that reason, archer for the armor for the Cav Archer is slightly more valuable because you have more HP base, and you have the potential to upgrade the HP with bloodlines. So that gives you an extra, 20 HP. Thus, making my point about armor slightly more, valid. So, archer on the armor on the Cav Archer is slightly more important. So I would say 5 in terms of importance for fletching, and then so you have to top priority that, and then armor would be like a 3. So get it, as soon as you can, but don't rush it too much, basically. Next up, we have the hand cannon. Hand cannon is a bit of an interesting case. This guy's a bit of a lone wolf, not gonna lie. No one talks to him. In fact, everyone in the skirmisher doesn't even want to look towards him. The Cav Archer is just kind of keeping an eye on him. It's not that bad, believe me, but it's pretty bad in the sense that he doesn't follow the normal trend. Fletching and bodkin actually don't work on him, so you can't actually upgrade his range from the Blacksmith. And that's weird because it looks like it's the same range as the Archer, but that's just kind of a hidden, gimmick of the game. And so only armor from the Blacksmith works on him. So I would say an importance of how important armor is. I mean, it's not that important because it follows the same argument of the Archer. This guy is supposed to be in the back doing the damage from the back, so armor is not very important on him either. But since you can't get attack, then the most important upgrade becomes the armor, because it's the only upgrade you can get for him from the Blacksmith. However, I will say that the importance, I'd say, is just a 3 still. I mean, it's a 3 instead of a 2 from the archer, just because you don't have to get fletching, so I put a little bit more importance on it. But truthfully, just getting more hand cannoneers can be more useful than getting armor on them. However, obviously in the late game, if you have like 40 hand cannons, you obviously want to get armored. It's going to be worth it. So you should definitely pick it up. So if you have just a small number of them, just getting a few more might be worth it. But if you have like a lot of them, obviously pick up the armor. But don't bother picking up fletching to upgrade these. It doesn't work. And just to show you guys, in case you don't believe me, let's pick up fletching. It affects the archer. It affects the skirm. Affects the cav archer. But lo and behold, nothing here. And then if you get the armor, well, it affects everything. So there it is. That's for the archer range here. Let's take a look at the barracks next. We have the Eagle Warrior to start. Eagle Warrior is a regional unique unit for the Mesocivs and Incas, which is not a Mesoamerican civ. I know that. Stop commenting about Incas, please. Every time I make a video about Incas, they comment. Love you guys, but lay off the Inca being not Meso comments. I understand. I know this, guys. But anyway, enough on that. We have the Eagle Scout here. And this barracks is actually very simple to explain. Every single unit follows the same trend. Every single unit, you want to get armor first. And so let me make a case here for it. So for infantry, actually let's take it one step at a time still. So let's take a look at the Eagle. You want to get armor first because it's a unit meant to raid your opponents. It's not meant to take on head-on engagements. And for it to do damage, it has to be in the front line. Simple as that. It has to be in the front line or else you're going to get no damage done. It says only 4 attack here, but this upgrades to 4+3 once you hit Castle Age. And so naturally you have quite a bit of attack on the Eagle Warrior. And you have a decent amount of HP at 50 base. And Eagle Warrior, I would say, is usually used to counter archer units. It does pretty weak against other infantry, like the swordsman line, and it's really good against trash units, and it's good against archer units. And so for that reason, getting pierce armor on it, so getting extra pierce armor, is probably the most valuable stat you can have on this, because it enables it to get to the front line without taking too much punishment. And then once it's in the front line, it tanks more shots, thus enabling it to deal more damage or get more hits off, therefore dealing more damage. Whereas if I had the attack upgrade on it, sure, I deal more damage per hit, but I'm going to get less hits because I die faster. And again, I have to be up close to hits, so therefore, if I get attack, I'm not going to be up close, or I'm not going to be able to get up close to hits. Therefore, I'm doing 0 damage, basically, if I die before I get there. So again, let's talk about the extreme example. If I have 100 attack on the Eagle, I have one-shot every single unit, but I have no armor, I would be one-shots by like 10 crossbows in Castle Age. So I can never even hit them, basically, because the good player will always snipe your Eagle before you can approach them. So that 100 attack is completely useless. On the other hand, if I have 100 armor but only 1 attack, well, they'll never be able to kill me before I get there. So I'll be able to get there and at least hit once or twice and get 1 damage off. So again, it's a very extreme example, but you'd want this, less damage, but guaranteed hits than getting more damage, but it's not sure whether you'll even get there to hit them or not. So for Eagle, definitely armor for that one. Spearman, let's talk about the swordsman first. Same story as the Eagle. You have to be up close to do damage. You already have a lot of damage as it stands. This militia only has 4, but when you upgrade it to champion, it has 13 base damage. So that's already a lot. So you'd much rather have the armor on it and actually be able to secure yourself getting up close and doing the damage. And this is the case with a lot of melee units. The Spearman in particular, though, has a special case. The armor is actually more important than the attack for the Spearman because it has an attack bonus. Now, an attack bonus means that it has 3 base damage, meaning it attacks any other unit, it will do 3 damage minus their armor. But if it attacks a cavalry unit, it has an extra bonus damage. This bonus damage is not affected by Blacksmith upgrades whatsoever. It doesn't scale, it doesn't multiply. It's not like if you have 3 damage and you attack a cavalry, it does 3 times 4. It does 3 plus X amount. I'm actually not sure what exactly it is. You have to ask someone in the comments maybe. But it does 3 plus X attack, so it's additional. It's not it doesn't multiply, it adds, sorry, I should say. And so therefore, if I get an extra attack, I'm not dealing 3 plus 1, so 4 times something. I'm doing 3 plus 1 plus X. So as you can see, the extra attack doesn't actually make my attack bonus stronger. Therefore, it kind of fades away. Let's say my attack bonus is, I don't know, something like, I think maybe for Spearman it's 10 or 12. I'm not 100% sure. I always mess this up. So let's give an example. Let's say it's extreme example again. Let's say my attack bonus is 100 damage. I'm doing 3 plus 100 damage. Now let's say I get forging. That's 103, by the way, for those who don't know how to do math. Let's say now I have forging for 3 plus 1. That's 4 plus 100 damage. That's 104 damage. But 104 is almost the same as 103. It doesn't really make a difference. So again, the whole idea here is you just want to get more hits off. You don't need your hits to do that 1 extra damage. So again, the case for all the infantry here is to get infantry armor first, and only after get infantry attack. So I would say for Eagle, infantry armor, scale of 1 to 5 importance 5, attack I would say is like a 3, still pretty important. Spearman, armor 5, attack 1. It's not nearly as important as armors, believe me. Armor is way more important. And then for the swordsman, it would be the same as the Eagle, 5 for armor, 3 for attack. You get it when you can, but armor is way more important. Now, one thing to consider, and I'll talk about it more at the end, that the first armor upgrade or the first attack upgrade is only 150 food. So, if you get the first armor upgrade and you can't afford the second armor upgrade, you could pick up the second attack in the meantime if you're lacking the gold for the next armor upgrade. So feel free to mix it up, but keep my order of importance in your mind to let you know which one is more relevant to get, or to prioritize at least in your games. But anyway, we're not quite done here. We have the stable, which follows a similar trend as the barracks because they're mainly melee units, therefore they have to be up close to attack. So here we have the knight. Again, it's the same story. It has 100 HP and it has quite a bit of base armor. It has a lot of attack, and it's the same story as the eagle. You want to get up close. You want to tank a lot of hits, or tank a lot of damage to be able to get your hits off. And so for that reason, armor is king. So armor as scale of 1 to 5 importance would be 5. Same reasoning as the eagle warrior. So 1 to 5, it's 5 for armor, and I would say attack is like a 2. The attack on the knight's very important actually, because the first attack lets you have more efficient raids. It lets you kill, so getting forging, basically the first attack lets you kill a villager it goes from 5 hits to 4 hits. So it actually is pretty important on the knights. So I would say 1 to 5 importance for armor is 5, and attack would be a 3 as far as importance goes. And also the attack upgrades helps against other melee units perfectly fine. And the knight can always run away from ranged engagements as well. So if it doesn't want to take a certain engagement, you can run away because you're faster. So attack could be, a pretty decent upgrade on the knight, but definitely prioritize the armor because you need to get your hits off. You don't want to die before you get into battle. Same exact reasoning for the camel, although the camel follows a similar path as the spearman in the sense that it's used to counter other cavalry units. It has an attack bonus versus cavalry, and so therefore it's the same story with the spearman. The attack upgrade is less important than the armor upgrade, or it's less important than the attack upgrade on a knight, for example. So for a camel, you want to get 1 to 5 importance for armor, 1 to 5 importance for attack. I would say like 2. It's slightly less important than the knight because you're going to be mainly using it against other cavalry units, in which case you benefit from the attack bonus. In that case, you really just want to get, armor to get more hits off. Now, the scout cavalry is the interesting one, and this is where I want to kind of divert from what I've been preaching about getting armor. Scout cavalry, especially in the early game, is usually used to raid villagers and to raid your opponents. It's not really used until the very late game as a kind of cavalry unit to have to tank a lot of damage. So in the early game, attack can actually be more important than armor because you just kill stuff faster. And for the scout cavalry, that's kind of the purpose of it. So I would say, but that being said though, it's still better to get armor because you get to tank more hits. So if you're playing against archers, you take less hits and less damage from them. So obviously I'm oversimplifying it right now, but you have to kind of get your upgrade based on the situation. If you want to raid villagers, you can get attack upgrade first, but if you're going up against archers or town center fire, then pierce armor becomes more important, and so you want to get armor first. So I would say order of importance 1 to 5. Armor is still king. You still want to get, it's 5 as far as armor is important because it's so good for late game raids. You don't take as much damage from the castle. You don't take as much damage from town centers. So you get to get in there, do damage, and get out. But the attack is more important than it would be on a knight. I would say the attack 1 to 5 importance would be a 4 because, like I said, this is the purpose of this, to kill villas fast. And you don't have the strongest base attack. You have only 3 plus 2. If you upgrade it to light cav or hussar, it has 7. So 7 attack is not a lot. Upgrading the attack is actually really important to getting better villager kills. And so for that reason, I would say attack is more important on scout cavalry than a normal knight, for example. Steppe lancer, now you have an interesting option actually. Steppe lancer, let me just hydrate a little bit. Very important. I've been talking for a while. Yeah, Steppe lancer is interesting. It actually has a range, so that means it can attack if you stack like 40 step lancers on each other, they can all attack at once. And so I know I'm doing the animation with my hand a lot. Sorry about that if it's annoying. But step lancers can all attack at once, and therefore the attack upgrade is actually more important on the step lancer. Another point to add to this is that they have low armor. So in general, you're gonna be getting shredded by archer units, regardless. Even if you get a lot of pierce armor from the blacksmith, you're still gonna be one down from the camel, for example. So I mean, you'd still probably prefer getting the attack, because it just really adds to your DPS. Think of it like kind of like an archer who has a lot of range. In this case, you have only one range, sure, but the way you use step lancers is that you stack them up on top of each other, and they can all attack. So in this case, attack is actually slightly more important than armor. So I would say 1 to 5 importance would be 5 for attack and only 4 for armor. It's still very important, but getting attack first for step lancers is probably a little bit better, and something to consider for you guys as well. Lastly, with the elephant, and I'm just gonna get right to the point here, it's the same story as the knights and the camels. Armor is more important because it has a lot of HP, so armor becomes even more important here to make use of that HP and take less damage. So again, let's use an extreme example. If this had 100 pierce armor or 100 melee armor, it would take 250 hits to die from something, attack bonus excluded, which is just bonkers. That's ridiculous. So again, armor is very important on it. And it already has a strong base attack, 12. So getting the extra +1 isn't going to really make that much of a difference, or +2. It's still good to get late game, but in the early game, armor is definitely amazing on battle elephants. And so for that reason, I'd recommend getting armor. The last thing I'll mention though, is the fact that you already take so much bonus damage from pikemen. So if you're up against pikemen with the battle elephants, getting attack might be actually more useful, because the whole point is you want to kill the pikemen before you die. That one armor isn't going to do a whole lot against the pikemen, because the pikemen are doing attack bonus anyway, so that's going to be a massive amount of damage. So you'd rather just kill the pikemen before they have a chance to hit you too much. And in that case, attack would be actually more important. So I would say if you're up against archers, you have to get armor. If you're up against pikemen, you have to get attack with the battle elephants, so you can kill them before they get too many hits off. So 1 to 5 importance, I would give, I don't know, 5 for armor and like 4 for attack, because attack is very important still on these guys, because let's face it, you're going to probably be playing against a lot of pikemen if you go for this, so you want to at least be able to shred them before they can get too many hits on you. Alright, that was a lot of talking from me, but I hope you guys enjoyed this style of video. It's 20-something minutes, so I hope it's not too long, and let me know in the comments below if you want to see the unique unit version of this exact same video. Before you guys leave, I want to show you guys one last thing. I have a notepad for you guys here that we can take a look at. So this just sums up exactly what I talked about here. So this is the most important upgrade to get. So attack plus range for each category. You can see I'm telling you which ones to prioritize. If you guys need a mental sheet of this, just screenshot this and keep it handy. I might put this in my Discord, available for subs to my Twitch stream. Both links in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.